Welcome back to episode 3 of Dadonomics, the podcast where we talk about dad stuff, general parenting, and then we try not to talk about economics because we don't really know anything about it. I am CJ.
I'm Josh.
I'm Kieran.
Yep,
Yes.
today we have a special guest on, our good buddy Kieran. Figured he can enlighten us on things that we know nothing about.
Absolutely. Another dad jumping on the podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun today. As always, want to say thank you for your support on the first 2 videos. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and please click on the bell notification so you are alerted when we drop these episodes every week. And if you're not already following the podcast, please check that out as well. I'll do my best to put the links down in the bottom right now since we do not have verification through YouTube. A lot of the links won't come through, but we'll do our best to get that data out to you guys as best as possible. Wanted to do a quick apology for missing the initial release date yesterday. Typically, we try to get these out on Saturday. It is Sunday, the 23rd of July. That was entirely on me. My little dude was sick, and if that doesn't relate to being a parent, I really don't know what else does. So, with that being said, our morning already was just so rough, man. We wake up, the little dude was still asleep, which was pretty surprising. It's probably 9 o'clock. I guess he's trying to sleep off whatever sickness he has. And then we kind of hear him start making all his sounds, and he's whining. So we go in there, and he immediately puts his hands up, and he's just like, ah! And he looks like Peanut Butter Baby because he was covered in his diarrhea this morning.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, that's the worst, dude.
Yeah, that was the good start to our morning this morning. I guess in the midst of trying to move around and shuffle while he was getting up, one of the straps on his diaper popped loose, full of peanut butter looking diarrhea. So we started to clean up on that nice and early. The wife, of course, yelling. So I run to the kitchen to grab some bags and some gloves. She picks him up to go put him in the bathtub. And, he's already got big lumps just kind of stuck to him. And she's trying to give him a bath. And then she's like, open up the toilet lid. And so I'm like, what? And I turn around and she has just shit in her bare hands. And I'm like, Amy, I've got gloves. I'll get it. And I'm like, Jesus. And so I open up the lid and, she puts the poo in there. And then, I turn around because I hear, this, in the bedroom. And I look over and then the dog is in there licking poop off of the rails of the bed. I'm just like, are you kidding me? I don't understand how it could get any more insane of a morning. So, again, I appreciate the patience with you guys waiting on us to get the next episode out. I have a valid excuse. I'm sure you guys have had mornings like that.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I really hate that happened to you today, but at the same time, I'm super glad it happened because there's not a better way to start this podcast.
I didn't think there was. I was just like, wow, of all days, of all opportunities for him to do something crazy, let's do it on the day that we have to roll out a podcast. So that was
a little advice from me to you, parent to parent here. Best thing I ever did, because we've had situations where diaper pops open and there's just shit everywhere. Best thing I ever did was switch Sawyer over to those 360 fit Pampers that you just pull them up. There's no straps, and then when you want to take them off, you just rip the sides.
Yep.
Okay.
Dude, the only way they come off is, and of course, I don't know why my daughter does this every time, but she likes to just take her own diaper off. She thinks she can change herself now. It's the only risk you have. Other than that, there's no straps on it. They just pull right up.
Yeah. So is there is there an age window that those start, or is it just they have them for all ages? And are they nighttime as well?
I'm sure they do have nighttime, but we've had Sawyer in them for forever.
I think this was the only reason that took place is because it was overnight, so he had hours and hours and hours to accumulate. So if they have them for nighttime, then that'd be something I'll definitely look into.
Dude, just go on Amazon or something, bro, or go to your local grocery store.
To your local grocery. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, that will be good too, though, because having a little boy, I can tell you guys, having visible things down there, he's, always trying to get his straps off to, check out what's going on down there. So it'd be a good opportunity for me to get him to stop doing that too, because that's always fun.
Man, oh man. So, Kieran, now that we have you on, man, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a father of 2. I've got a 3-year-old and a 8-month-old, newborn kind of. Well, she's not newborn anymore. I'm a police officer. I work for a small town agency out in rural Georgia. It's very interesting being law enforcement and a father, especially in this day and age. A lot of stuff going on in this world that people don't want to see or hear about, but it's happening anyways. So
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about for sure was the fact that in this day and age and the way the world's been going, how is it being a police officer today in comparison? Because I know you've been one for a good while. How is it today in comparison to what it was when you started?
well, when I started, I was in a smaller town than I am now, and back then it was pre defund the police, pre Antifa, pre all that stuff, and it's a different world. We've got people that are out to get us all the time. I mean, paranoia, all that kind of stuff is really prevalent in the day to day. We got to watch ourselves a lot more than we used to, and for people that First Amendment auditors and people that want to put us in a bad light, people on YouTube, that kind of stuff. I mean, we got a guy that drives all over the CSRA, First Amendment auditor, just trying to catch us in negative light all the time.
They do that here?
Yes.
I was gonna,
There's a guy. Go ahead.
I haven't heard that expression before. A First Amendment auditor. What exactly is that?
You haven't seen that on TikTok or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I think we have.
Did it here.
I think we have totally different algorithms just because of, I don't know. I try and minimize my exposure to some of the stuff like that because I kind of preach, to my wife, hey, you're having all these negative emotions with what's going on in the world because you're like isolating yourself to finding and seeing this type of media. So I'm like, kicked in the nut shots, fail videos, shark plays with otter. I'm trying to like avoid that kind of stuff. So I think our algorithms are a little differently, but so yeah, I'm not familiar with the term.
So First Amendment auditors are people who basically get their kicks off by going around with video cameras or phones, videotaping law enforcement officers, and they're trying to stir negative emotions with officers and get them riled up to the point where they look bad on camera. And then they'll post on their YouTube channel and be like, hey, look, yeah, the police are bad. Here's evidence, here's video proof of officers cussing me out for no reason, or they're asking me all these questions for no reason. They're illegally doing this or whatever. Like for instance, we had this was a couple of years ago. We had a guy, the same guy, he was videotaping in our back parking lot where we have all of our spare cars parked. And one of our officers, who was a Navy vet, came out there and just had a pleasant conversation with him. Nothing negative about it. Well, that video that he had never made the light of day.
Sure.
None of us even saw that.
Yep.
But all the other videos that he had of his negative encounters, he absolutely posted on his YouTube channel.
And I think I kind of drifted for a second. You said before that like it doesn't show what's leading up to the negative interaction,
Nope.
right? So it's content without context.
Exactly, and that's what is very much happening in this day and age. Is you see a little snippet of the, for example, let's say like an officer gets involved in a physical altercation with somebody, they will show the officer like hitting or kicking the person repeatedly, but nothing leading up to that fact. They didn't show the part where the person jumped on their back and started trying to choke them out.
Sure.
They just saw the officer reacting to what they're supposed to be doing, trying to get the person in custody. So,
Gotcha. Well,
Yep.
Appreciate you guys enlightening me on the term, and sorry, interrupted your story there.
it's kind of like the sovereign citizen movement. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-mm. Uh-oh.
That's a whole nother world right there. The sovereign citizen movement is basically a group of people that claim to be sovereign citizens. They don't have to follow any of the laws,
Or pay taxes.
pay taxes,
Or pay the
Okay.
registration.
Yeah,
or pay. Yeah,
I saw
they-
that you're talking about like that one girl that was down at like the border of Mexico and that one interaction with that patrol officer, and he's like, hey, I need to see your identification. She's like, oh, I don't need identification. I'm so and so. It's kind of okay.
Or-
Gotcha.
people that say I don't answer questions.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, like a very prevalent YouTuber, donut operator. He has an entire segment on sovereign citizens, and it's pretty funny because, like when you pull people over, they're like, I don't answer questions. I need you to get your ID, whatever. They're like, I'm not going to give you my driver's license. They then the officer breaks their window and drags them out of the car and takes them to jail because they're obstructing lawful orders. You know, because there's federal case study out saying that if an officer asks for your driver's license in a legal aspect, you're required by law to give that officer your driver's license or your identification.
And that's a federal legislation.
Yes,
Okay.
that is federal statute. That's not law. That's not local or state ordinance. That is federal statute. You have to give your driver's license if it's requested in a legal aspect to an officer that's requesting it, especially on a traffic stop.
Makes sense. I mean, you need to
Yeah,
verify.
so you know, CJ, the next time you get pulled over, I don't want to hear any of this. I don't answer questions.
What's
I'm a
that?
sovereign citizen.
What was that? There's a movie or a TV show, right, in like New Zealand with that one guy. And he's like, I don't answer questions. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. In Between.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen so many snips from it. It looks like it. Is it a TV
Mhm.
show or is it a movie?
I think it's a TV
It's
show.
a TV show. It's on Hulu, I think. I've seen most of that show.
I haven't watched the show per se, but like TikTok, I don't know. You know when you're scrolling through TikTok or through YouTube and you see like where they post clips of a movie and next thing you know you've watched the entire thing.
Right.
That's how I feel about Mr. In Between. I watched one and then I watched 200 of them. So now I have zero need to go on Hulu because I definitely get the plot.
Yeah. It always frustrates me too whenever they do videos and then they're like, well, follow for part 2, whatever, and then you go and then you're looking and part 2 is not on there. If anything, it makes me less inclined to follow. So, report for misinformation, fake news. So,
That's like the movie Nefarious. They did the same thing. I found a channel on TikTok where they posted the entire movie in like 5-minute segments. So I watched the entire Nefarious movie without actually having to sit down and watch the entire Nefarious movie.
how was that one? I'm yet to see it.
It's are you familiar with what it's about?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see the aspect of being possessed, and they're trying to figure out if he actually is possessed or he's just trying to avoid the death penalty.
Right. And it's Sean Patrick Flannery, right?
Yes, he's the guy in question about being possessed or not. He's the one that's on death row, and by the end of it, you're trying to figure out if he's for real or not. And by the end of it, the twist. It's like an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not gonna say it. If nobody's seen it, and they want to see it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say the ending, but it's a really good twist.
That's great.
Leading up to that, you're like, is this real? Is this not real? And then the end of it reveals that whatever happens, happens.
So, just hypothetically speaking here, if I ever ended up on death row, I could legitimately say that I was just possessed.
I mean, you can say whatever you want. Whether that's going to, grant you any more time alive and more, interrogations or interviews, that I don't know. That seems like a bit of a Hollywood stretch. Yeah.
all the Vatican. All the Pope's exorcists. There we go.
That's my loophole. If I'm ever on death row and, I'm requesting my final meal, I'm just going to, request something discontinued. Be like, give me a surge and, and
just wait for
a Choco
the
Taco.
McRib to come off.
Yeah. Choco
So you can
Taco.
at least buy yourself a year.
The Choco Taco's gone, right?
Wait,
Yeah.
is it really?
Yeah. It's been around. I think it came out in like 84, 86, something like that. Gone.
Yeah.
This
They
economy.
discontinued it a couple years ago.
Did
I
you
know.
just blame the economy on Choco Taco?
No, I blamed the Choco Taco on the economy, but they could go hand in hand. Again, we don't really talk about economics, but
That's fair.
so that is funny.
Just like Crystal Pepsi. That made a little comeback there for a little bit and then disappeared again.
That's the clear Pepsi, right?
Yes. Oh, it's so much better.
Is it really?
It's so much better. Yes.
It's got to be better for you too. I mean, I've understood that, and I probably shouldn't say it because I'm gonna get fact checked by somebody. But I think caramel coloring has been classified as a carcinogen in a couple. I mean, everything in California is, right, but in a couple different areas. I want to say the FDA said that. So I mean, having a clear beverage that has no dyes, no caramel colorings, nothing like that. I mean, that's at least got to be good for the whole argument that red 40 causes this neurodivergency, yellow 5 causes this neurodivergency. So there's definitely some benefit to having a clear soda.
So speaking about Red 40, that is 100% true. I'm not going to lie about that. My oldest we did our little experiments with her, and that absolutely yes, it's
So the firstborn is CJ,
yeah.
an experiment.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's the wrong word to say. But
No,
yeah,
it's the right word to say. I was
Here,
an
drink
experiment.
this dye.
well, no, it's every red dye is in everything.
Oh
Red
man.
40 is in everything, and like one day, like we shop at Aldi because all their stuff in there is like non-preservative. It's very like all. I mean, yeah, they got junk food and stuff, but all their stuff, the ingredients are not chemically
Sure.
is so like they have a packs of gummies and stuff they sell at Aldi that have no dyes in it. It's all natural coloring. And we give her those one day, and the next day we tried like Doritos, nacho cheese Doritos that have red 40 in them. And the immediate change of her behavior, she went from being happy child to extremely pissed off
No way.
and very very moody. So that the red 40 thing is absolutely true.
Wow, that's
I'm going
crazy.
to Aldi. I'm going to Aldi this next week.
Oh,
My
Aldi's
kid eats
great.
Doritos like crazy, and sometimes she is a straight psychopath.
So
I'm
I do
I'm
want
wondering
to.
if I need to switch over to like
They have
a non-red 40 version of Doritos.
they have their own brand of Doritos that is Aldi brand, and
Nice.
it is absolutely 100% not dyed. It's 100% natural.
Stay tuned for episode 4 when I tell you the results of the experiment.
The child laboratory is in session. So, I had a question about that. So when, and I don't know if you both have done it, and obviously you have, Kieran. When do you start gummies? Because I love gummies, and I'm ready to give little dude some, but the wife's like, no. There's like a time frame, I guess, on it. Is it a choking thing? Is it a chewing thing? Have you guys both started gummies, or?
Oh yeah. No, my kid eats gummy bears, gummy worms, whatever, gummy this, that.
I'm a gummy freak myself, man. I love gummies.
I would say it was probably about a year and a half with Sawyer. It was about
Really?
the time we started letting her eat M&Ms, gummy bears. She's never choked on any of it.
It's just like the whole saying about apples. Apples are apparently a big choking hazard for young kids.
Hot dogs too.
Yeah, but
I've heard about
if
hot
you
dogs.
if you closely monitor your child and you're there watching them the whole time, there's no problem with experimenting. Allowing them to, in my opinion, allowing them to experience different textures and stuff, and them figuring out, hey, I like this, I don't like that.
Well, it's one of those things as well. Like, your kid's gonna choke on something here and there, and of course, you just got to know how to handle that situation. But you can't hide foods from a kid because you're just too concerned with them choking on something.
Yeah.
Look, I will tell you right now, Sawyer's choked 2 or 3 times in her life on random assorted foods, and I'm always the one who has to handle the situation.
Sure.
And that little kid is pissed at me for like 2 hours. I am her worst enemy because I saved her life.
Makes
And
sense.
Yeah, but I mean, she's fine afterwards, and she eats about whatever. I mean, I think at this stage, I don't restrict her from eating really much of anything as far as textures or different things go. I mean, other than like bubble gum. Obviously, she can't have like a Tootsie Pop with bubble gum in the middle of it. No.
Sure.
But
You-
gummies
blow
and different kinds
pop.
of foods. Yeah, blow pop. Is it? Yeah, blow pop.
Yeah. Tootsie Pop
You can
has
tell how
a Tootsie Roll.
you can tell how much sugar I eat. I eat 0 sugar, so I don't know which ones. I just know
yeah.
if she points at candy and she says I want that one, and I see the word gum in it, she doesn't get that one.
King Keto.
It's not keto. I haven't eaten sugar in years.
Oh,
I don't
good.
like sugar.
Well, so it's, back what you were saying with Aldi, I just looked it up just so I don't want to get fact checked on anything. I guess Aldi is originally a German, is the heritage on it. So the mom lived in Essen, Germany. Interestingly enough, I do know without looking it up. Essen is the word for food. So it's kind of interesting that's where Aldi came from. The 2 sons took the small grocery store, grew it into Aldi. So it makes sense that Aldi is having all these things with all these dyes and preservatives and all this nastiness and stuff because, that's kind of the way they operate over there. Their stipulations are different. And I can certainly attest to it, having been deployed to Germany, been deployed to Spain, and then spent some leisurely time in Ireland. Of all those places, anytime I went out and, ate like crazy, overconsumed, any of those things, like I've never had a hangover in foreign countries, which is crazy. I've never eaten to the point where I just feel like crap the next day. And like even like we did like a small comparison just between like ketchup. Like we went to McDonald's where you would expect for it to be like the worst of the worst because that's like the stereotype here, right? Americans, all they do is eat their McDonald's. And like the ketchup here has, 10, 11, 12, 13 ingredients. Over there in Ireland, the ketchup packet at McDonald's was tomato, distilled vinegar, water. That was it. So, I mean, just something as simple as the condiments. I mean, let alone like all the actual foods, that you're eating. So, yeah, all these definitely.
This is a super random tangent here, but my wife showed me these TikToks the other day, and I was consumed by them. Speaking of like different countries and trying different foods, there's this like I don't know if it was like a YouTube video originally or what it was, what it stemmed from, but someone had broken it all out into TikToks, and it was like British kids trying American Thanksgiving or British kids trying American fast food. Bro, when I tell you, these dudes busted out the Popeyes, bro. The Popeyes. These British kids were like, it's lovely. Oh,
Yeah.
it's stupendous. It is like, but Popeyes, they not a complaint on anything. It was like the greatest thing on the planet. They were like, I guess they have KFC over there. They don't have Popeyes.
Gotcha.
But they were like, KFC sucks now. This makes my local chicken shop look like shit. I was like,
It's the stuff we're
Popeyes,
adding.
dude. 100%.
It's the things that we add enhance the taste, and then it becomes addictive, and it's a vicious spiral.
Well, the
But-
thing about it is, you can make the same flavor profile, make something taste just as good at your house by just running the right different like rubs,
Sure.
seasonings.
Yeah.
Run like today, for instance. Kieran here. They come to the house. We go to theirs. We do once a month like dinners where we just cook a bunch of stuff. We swap which house we do it at. Today, I'm gonna make some chicken cutlets.
Okay.
And I'm running coconut oil and all. It's not gonna be as extremely unhealthy as your typical fried chicken would be.
Sure.
But the main thing is that I study barbecue rubs, the different kinds of rubs, so it's gonna have the same bang, if not the better flavor than you're gonna find at all these places that use 98% chemicals to make their flavors taste better. It's just a matter of you can make anything taste good. But with that being said, if I was from the UK or from another country and I came here and ate Popeyes, oh bro, bet your ass that's God's food.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dude, it's everything though. It's you just made a great point by saying coconut oil. It starts even at what you're, marinating your meat in. I mean, the different oil that you use to, cook it with, not only does it have different temperatures and different flavors, but then it has different effects on the body. I mean, if you're going to sit there and fry everything in vegetable oil, or if you're going to fry stuff in olive oil, or, so yeah, that's huge. It's funny you brought up the UK thing though, because I've seen one of those videos, and like this little kid said probably my favorite, most Americanized thing ever. He's eating his American breakfast, and he says, "It's a bit meatish." Meatish. So meatish is officially one of my favorite adjectives. So,
I'm gonna start using that now.
yeah.
So talking about chemicals, that like me and my wife were talking about coffee creamer on the way over here, and Aldi has coffee creamers, and it doesn't have any added chemicals or oils to it, but apparently the ones you can buy at Walmart have like canola oil and like hydrogenated oils in it, and we went from the International and like the light brand or whatever to the Aldi brand and back to it. I had my coffee earlier this week, and it really tasted off. I could really taste the oils in it.
That's insane. And another bad one that's getting put in a dairy specifically, like creamers and stuff like that, is carrageenan. If you have a
I've
chance,
seen that.
carrageenan is a really bad one. After one of my deployments a while ago, I came back with like some severe stomach issues. And then like we were like trying to figure out, what changed in my diet. And while I was over there and I was like more tired, I was drinking a lot more coffee, and I was drinking like with more creamer and stuff like that. And I was asked, if I had noticed any carrageenan. I didn't even know what it was at the time. And I started looking for it in creamers, and I took it out, and it was similar thing. It was a 48-hour process before my body just operated so much more effectively, and I wasn't just shitting my brains out every time I had a sip of coffee. Now I've gotten to the point where I drink coffee black. And a lot of people that say, coffee gets my digestive system started. It makes me take my first poop, blah, blah, blah. For some people, that may be the case. But for me specifically, it was having those creamers that had that carrageenan in it. Because the minute I started drinking black coffee, I have a more effective metabolite reaction with the coffee, without, again, just like immediately dumping on the porcelain throne. So
That's the conspiracy world that we're living in. All
you,
the different stuff that's poisoning us.
yeah, you have to look at
Yeah.
every single line on the box and then see like what result is that going to have if I put this in my body now. What's this going to do to me in 5, 6, 7 years if I maintain this? So
Yeah.
Have you the whole theory that like they push conspiracies into movies just to put it in plain sight so that you just think it's just normal, and then eventually when it all comes out, it's so normalized because you've seen it.
Then
It's
you're
like
it's not a big
aliens over
deal.
the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen I think it was the Netflix movie.
Is that y'all's
Is it-
kid or mine?
That's probably one of ours.
Okay. I just like heard like a screech. I thought he
Welcome
was
to
napping.
Dadonomics, where
That's
we're
right.
dads and there are kids on the other side of that wall.
There's no noise suppression on children. It doesn't matter what they tell you.
But they had this new movie called, like, was it like, it's either Who Cloned or They Cloned Tyrone or something, and it's got Jamie Foxx in it. I watched it the other day, and it was like basically underground cloning laboratories where like this dude would get shot, like, he's like, he was a drug dealer or whatever. He'd get shot, but they just put a new one of him on the road, on the streets, with all the memories of the last one.
Okay.
And it made me think. I was like, speaking of conspiracies, it made me sit there and think, like, is this another? Of course, they could clone all these different animals. So of course, they can clone humans, But is this another them putting it in your face so it becomes normalized? And then 10 years from now, when they're like, "Yeah, bro, we've been cloning all these celebrities," you're like,
Yeah.
"Ah, makes sense."
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you never know.
You should watch that movie, dude. What
was it called again?
a
I'm
good
sorry.
movie. Either They Cloned Tyrone or Who Cloned Tyrone or something like that. But it was Jamie Foxx. It was on Netflix.
I like Jamie Foxx too, so that should be easy for me to watch.
It was great, dude. He was a pimp. It was hilarious.
Well, so I know we kind of started talking about Kieran, your experiences being a parent as a police officer of 1 and 2. That's something that I'm really interested in. Is like, what was and of course I'm interested in the police work as well, and I want to jump back to that. But I'm really curious, what was that like being a parent of 1? Obviously, getting into the groove of being a parent of 1, and then finding out that you were expecting another one. What was that pregnancy like with your family while you had the one already? And then what is it like now that you have the 2 kids? And if you need me to go back and re-dissect the questions, I will. But
Okay.
yeah, there's just 3 big points that I'm kind of curious on, because I mean, I'm in a roadblock right now where, my wife and I are interested in potentially having another child, but then I'm like, man, like I drop him off at daycare and I see, moms with like one, with 2 kids, trying to like maintain like all that chaos, and then same thing picking up in the afternoon, and just like I just always want to hear what that whole timeline experience was like for somebody that's already experienced it.
So, we were definitely trying for our oldest. That was 100% actually, like, we were actually trying to have our oldest. My wife was experiencing pregnancy issues, and we definitely were trying, because she went in and got a procedure done, and the doctor said that she had precancerous cells in the women area. And so the doctor said, if you
The
want
weapon area.
if you want to try natural, you need to start trying right now. So
And by
the doctor
natural,
gave,
sorry to cut you, by natural you mean natural conception, right?
yes,
Okay.
not the in vitro stuff. Like, that was an option, but the doctor was giving us up to a year to try to conceive naturally, and it happened within like 3 months. We were pregnant with number 1. We were all happy, and we basically just started, raising number 1. And me and my wife were on opposite rotations. My days I was off, I was taking care of my oldest daughter, and then when my days I worked, my wife would be home. We were both on day shift at the time, and we worked 12s at the time. So I'd be at home for 12 hours with 1 kid, trying to figure it out as a dad. We don't have all these natural things that women have to, mentally prepare you for a child. So just trying to figure it out day to day and trying to survive. Number 2 was 100% surprise.
Okay.
I actually reacted negatively to my wife when she told me that she was pregnant, and that goes into my mental health that I've been struggling with.
Now,
And
was that a fear of another child, or was it just something that, like you said, something going on with you? Was it a combination of both?
combination. I felt like our finances weren't there. My mental health back when I've struggled with PTSD and anxiety stuff for pretty much my entire career in law enforcement, and I've been getting therapy.
Good.
Me and my wife, I seeked out my own personal therapy, and that's definitely helped me fix my mental issues. And pretty much the entire pregnancy, it was for me. The second child was negative for the most part because I was not wanting to have another child. And then uh, after she was born, it got worse because sleepless nights,
Sure.
trying to take care of number two and number one. Sleepless nights, all the mental load was definitely weighing on me and my wife. So earlier this year, my wife, I separated from her and my kids. I went and lived with my mom for a week, and at that point, we decided to seek marriage counseling. And through that and my own personal therapy, we have overcome most of the problems we were having. It was a lot of communication issues, and I had a lot of anger issues. But now, being a father of two, it's it's day to day. It could be a struggle. It could be positive. It is what it is. But going back to being a father of, you know, when it was just me and my wife, I was already protective of my family.
Sure.
Just the whole, that's just my side of it. Going into being a police officer and already being protective of myself. You add your significant other in there. You're being overprotective, and then you add a small one into the mix of
A
that,
daughter at that.
a
Yep.
daughter at that, and it absolutely your mindset changes as being the protector of your entire family. Having another one to look after, making sure you go out in public, you're constantly scanning, making sure nobody's around you, making sure nobody's fixing to walk up on you. I've the whole Overwatch thing for me is definitely something that I'm never going to get rid of. Always constantly looking at people, constantly looking over my back, making sure there's nobody around us. Constantly, always. Just like at home, I will check my front door locks about 4 or 5 times before I even go lay down in bed, just to
Me
make
too.
sure.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's
So,
probably over exaggerated by being a police officer as well. I mean that training is
Mm-hmm.
ingrained in you now, and then yeah, having a wife as a female you're protecting, then a daughter, two females you're protecting, then a second daughter, three females you're protecting.
yeah.
There's a lot to be said about what you just unpacked, and I want to say I have a large level of appreciation for you having the comfort to come on here and have those talks with Josh and I, and having that confidence with us and our viewers. That's very admirable, and there's a lot to be said about the care you're taking for yourself with your mental health. A lot of men don't do that; they don't realize the importance of it. So, just huge commendations to you for that, and your wife. When it comes to doing the marriage counseling as well, that's really important when you're struggling with those sort of things. So, I appreciate you sharing that. I was curious, and then there's some deeper, darker stuff that I want to get into as well. But back when there was a statement you had made about being worried, nervous, overwhelmed about having a second child because of the fiscal responsibility. Um, did you feel like when you had your first daughter, when you were pregnant with the first one, did you feel like you were ready monetarily with that one? Because my philosophy was I was always worried about having a kid because I was like, I have a way of spending. I have things I want to buy. One kid is going to make that very challenging. And then so when we had the first kid, I realized pretty quickly, to your point, how easy it is to like readjust like your priorities and be like, hey, I don't need this. I don't need this. I need to buy this for my son. And I realized, man, diapers are expensive. Our son never latched. Breastfeeding was never an option. So formula was a very quick expense. And so now I'm having the same anxiety you're having about potentially having a second, being like, fiscally, there's no way I'm going to be ready for it. So what was your experience like with that?
So with my first child, it It was
towards the Michael.
so it was tough. Trying to figure out expenses, and before having having my oldest, I had a whole list of projects. I've got my truck that I have a whole list of upgrades that I want to do to it, and basically, like, my paycheck that I make, my biweekly paycheck I make, that 100% covers my bills plus some for additional whatever. And I work a lot of specials on
What
my
does
off
that mean?
time. So a special is basically like, so my day to day 12, 6
Mhm.
to 6. Um, that's my normal shift. And a special, like today, for instance, this morning I worked at one of our local churches, um, just providing church security. All this stuff happening all over this world, all over this country, with people going into churches and shooting it up. A lot of churches have offered well, I call it as a church special, where you go and you act as visible security to make sure that if someone potentially comes into that church to do harm to somebody, your physical presence being there will deter that. And if somebody has enough balls to go in there and do something stupid, I'm immediately there to react to the situation and handle it without having that wait time of officers coming and responding.
Wow.
Because there is a wait time. It's not, we don't, people think we can immediately just show up to anything.
Sure.
No, there's even in my small town, responding to calls, depending on traffic and weather, it can take me anywhere from a minute to 15 to get to one end of the town to the other.
Well, your small town covers a lot of mileage.
So our town is about 4.5 to 5 square miles,
Okay.
and there's a lot of side streets and back streets.
I
So
guess I think of it much larger. I guess just living where I live now and y'all are a bit further away from me. I guess I think of that area as so much bigger when I drive through it via
yeah,
interstate.
no,
Um,
I drive that day to day, and I'm used to the roads, so I know how responding to calls. And like, we have a north side and a south side that's divided by a railroad track. So if I'm on the north side and have to get to the south side and there's a train coming,
oh yeah, man.
I'm I'm dead in the water until that train clears.
So, two questions on that. While trying to, maintain y'all's privacy, the city that you operate in is known for having a good bit of crime historically. Is that still the case? And then the second question, absolutely, okay. And then the second question is, with that large area that you're covering, is your department well manned? Is that making it more difficult to be able to get and respond in a timely manner because you may or may not have enough police officers?
He's been waiting on this one.
Oh man, very interrogatory, isn't it? But I mean, I'm curious, because that's always the thing, right? You talk about the response times, and everybody's frustrated with the response times, but are the response times the way they are because of the resources, and are the resources the way they are because the people complained about the overreach of law enforcement and said, to your point earlier, Josh, defund the police. Let's do this, let's do that, because we don't need this many resources. And then once those resources don't exist and it takes them longer to respond, those same people are like, well, how come you're not here faster? Why was it a 15-minute response time?
So, speaking on your second question, we are very understaffed. Per our population, if you do the population statistic and all that, you work in the factors of how many people we have living in our city. We should have a minimum of 4 officers per shift. We have 2 day shifts and 2 night shifts. We should have 4 officers per shift. That's 16 people. Right now, we have 2 officers per shift, and we have 2 guys that are also in the military, who they're both in one's in the National Guard, one's in the reserves. So every month, and I know CJ, you were part of that portion of the military as well. So every month you got to go on and do your weekend thing.
Mm-hmm.
So having them jump off and leave us high and dry, because of the federal stuff, we can't really say no to that.
Well, let's not call it leaving you high and dry. Let's call it another obligation.
Yeah. Okay, that's a better terminology. But we have a guy right now. He's so I was working a mid shift since the beginning of this year, and one of the guys on my rotation's night shift. He's in the National Guard. He just got promoted to sergeant, so he went away for 2 weeks. He was back for a couple days, and now he's away for 6 weeks for NCO school.
Yep.
So we're having to scramble around. I've been moved since January. I was on day shift, or I was on mid shift working 2 to 2. Then last month in June, I got transitioned to day shift, which was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And now I'm working a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I got transitioned to night shift.
Man.
And in August, I have no idea where I'm going to be at.
Jeez.
So
I know how challenging that is. On my first deployment out to the Middle East, I was working midnight till 12 in the afternoon, and then you get used to it, and then they're just like, all right, noon to midnight, and you just have to like change everything. It is very challenging on the body. So that's crazy. You've had so many different adjustments in your schedule in such a short period of time.
Not to mention, like we also have officers on our day shifts that are out due to sickness or family matters, or we just had 2 officers on the same shift get married within a week of each other.
Dang.
So me being on night shift, I'm also having to cover day shift spots whenever I'm physically able to. So my sleep schedule right now is basically good luck.
Yep, that's a good one. I understand that.
So, but talking on the defund the police thing, because I saw that in the notes. So
What
that
notes?
actually,
I'm just kidding.
so that aspect of whatever movement that was, it didn't really affect us, like our department. That was more or less a thing for the bigger cities like Atlanta, LA, New York, the bigger departments with bigger budgets.
Gotcha.
They're the ones that saw the negative impact of that. We really haven't. Only thing we've seen negative is that we haven't gotten any pay increases, for cost of living or anything, because
Gotcha.
the money in my city is just not there to assist with giving us a better pay raise.
Makes sense. I mean, how is it supposed to? The way, interest rates have changed and the price of housing hasn't gone down. And, again, to our list of notes, we were at Publix. Was that yesterday? Maybe it was the day before. Either way, I felt like we had a decent amount of groceries, but we didn't have, 2 weeks worth of food. And it was like $170. What, I could remember 2 years ago, maybe being $80. And on top of that, I've gotten to the point where I do a lot of like meal prepping. And so I've started prepping like fruit bowls to get like, some quick sugars, some nice carbohydrate boosts. And I'll typically do like, it's a 4-cup container. I'll do like cup of watermelon, cup of grapes, cup of strawberries, cup of blueberries. And then, I eat those all throughout the week. Well, the quality of the produce, even though it's double the cost, it's half the quality. I mean, the grapes are soft and mushy. Like they're like overly sweet because they're overly ripe. It's a whole mess.
I've noticed a ton lately, and it's driving me crazy, and it confuses my wife in the sense of we buy fruit. Like my daughter loves strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, little oranges, all that kind of stuff. I'll get it, and like I don't know if my memory is just gone or what, but I don't remember things going bad in 48 hours.
Well, I'll tell you
You bring
this.
it home, you store it properly.
Yeah.
And then your fruit starts just going bad out of nowhere.
Do you
it's
wash
like they've been on the
it?
shelf.
Do you wash it prior to storing it?
Yeah.
So that
Store it in your Tupperware and you do all this stuff that you're supposed to do.
you wash it and you store it, that immediately decreases the lifespan. Just so you know.
It depends on the fruit as well though. Like little oranges and stuff like that. We bought some oranges the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in a little basket, in a dry area, cool, dry.
Okay.
Not the fridge. The next day I went in there and picked one up and it was blue.
Oh man, oranges are supposed to be orange, hence the name.
But they're all supposed to not go bad the day after you buy them. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. So I'm gonna give you a little heads up, Josh. If you start shopping at Aldi, anticipate that happening even worse. Because Aldi, without all their preservatives and all the other shit that we add here, the produce goes bad twice as fast. My
Well, I'm
advice
honest,
to people that are shopping at Aldi is if you are going to buy the produce, buy it with the anticipation of using it within the next 24 hours. Because it goes bad.
Or like what me and my wife do is like for the oranges you're talking about. What I saw was a TikTok hack where you peel the oranges, you take the whole bag, peel the whole bag, take them and put them in a bag, a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer.
Okay.
That
That's a good
way
idea.
you're getting something that can, if you have a kid that's teething or whatever,
Nice, yeah.
the cold will help the gums. Then you have they're being frozen, so they're going to last practically forever. So that's what we do is we bought the last bag of oranges we bought for my oldest daughter. I think we still have a Ziploc bag half full of frozen oranges, and we bought that bag 6 months ago.
Nice. Hey,
So it's
I want to keep talking. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, you go ahead.
There's a little
You're
bit
fine.
of a delay, so I apologize. I keep interrupting you guys. I want to keep talking fruit, and I want to keep talking preservation of fruit because these are good dad tips, right? Whenever mom's like, "Oh, you don't even know how to take care of the kid," you just pull out a bag of fruit, and then you're good for the whole day, man. We're in good shape. So, but there was a quick question that popped in my head. It's gonna sound premeditated, like my other questions about you being understaffed and all that. It's not. I just keep thinking of these things. It's kind of the way my brain operates. Drill schedules. So military with the reserves, the drill schedules are, they're predetermined at the beginning of the year. They're public knowledge. There's nothing classified or confidential that says that this is critical information. Everybody knows about training assemblies. They know when they take place. Criminals may as well. Do you notice that on those weekends when your guys are gone on military drills and criminals may be assuming that some reservists and guardsmen may be police officers for their full-time jobs and they know that they're, tied down by another, what was the word you used? High and dry, I believe is what it was. I'm just kidding. If they're, but if they are, observing another obligation, do you guys ever notice like a pattern where more crime happens on those weekends?
Not in my area.
Good. It'd be a cool conspiracy, but good that you don't.
Maybe in the bigger agencies. Maybe in the bigger agencies that might be prevalent. Like when I first started working in my agencies, one of our officers who pissed off a lot of the public because of the way he handled crime and handled taking people to jail. Like he is very good at his job. He is very good at handling taking folks to jail, figuring out stuff. That's why he's one of our investigators. When he went from being a road officer to being an investigator, he went from driving a marked vehicle to an unmarked vehicle. Within a week, they knew what vehicle he was in and what days he was at work. And that, I'm not saying criminals are the smartest people in the world, but some of those changes they do pay attention to, and they do know, oh, this guy's in this car. He's working. He's been working these days, and he's been off these days. We haven't seen him these days. We know we know how to handle these things.
Yeah.
In the small agency that I work in, we have a very high physical crime statistic. Very high. We have a lot of shootings, a lot of assaults, then a lot more of your like small petty stuff like shoplifting and that kind of stuff. But in my small agency, we have a lot of physical crimes.
How much of that the violent crime stuff comes from my county to yours? Because I know we're directly split. The county that you patrol and the county that we're currently sitting in, where I live, they're right next to each other. Yes. So how much comes from these people here to where you are?
Very small amount.
Really?
Very small amount. The issues that we have in my area is a lot of people that are living there. We have my first summer that I worked there back in 2018, we had what we called the gang war of 2018. Two rival gangs, one north of the railroad tracks, one south of the railroad tracks. every weekend we're shooting at each other, hoping they're hitting somebody.
Can we point out the fact that you live in an unfortunate, well, not, you don't live, you patrol in an unfortunate community that's separated by railroad tracks, and if you just look at any movie in the history of time, anywhere that's separated by railroad tracks has a rival gang on each side of it.
So
you know it's true.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And I went to a training earlier this year that we were talking about that about. So modern gangs are progressing to not doing more of the physical crimes. They're more or less doing the online, like scams, phone scams, online scams, that kind of stuff. So a lot of the gangs in today's era are transitioning over because they know that it's harder for them to get caught doing a lot of the white collar stuff instead of the blue collar stuff. But in my agency, the guy that was teaching this class to us, he said he looked around, and apparently Thompson has reverted back to the 1980s color movement, where, let's say, you got the Bloods and the Crips. Bloods and the Crips wear what? Red and blue. Well, now those gangs don't wear those colors. They don't show in public that they're part of that. But in my jurisdiction, they're absolutely 100% wearing matching colors, and they're doing this in middle school and high school. You can walk through this school and you'll see both rival gangs walking to and from class just because of the colors that they're wearing on their clothes. It's 100%, and people can question that for me, whatever they want to say, but it's 100% fact. If you walk in any school in my area, you can see the color differentiation for us as far as clothing goes, and
Interesting.
We anyways, tangent. Go back to it.
We do that here. It's okay.
Yes, it's the thing.
So in my first year, we had a big gang war. I think within a matter of 3 months, between both night shifts, we answered 125 shots fire calls, and I'd say 100 to 110 of those were actual legitimate property damage or someone got hit.
And what time frame again? You said 3 months?
About 3 months. And when that summer was over, we finally figured out who was doing what, and we locked up a lot of people. And there for a couple of years during the virus era, I'll say that one. During the virus era, we didn't really see a whole lot of people doing a lot of violent criminal activities outside of, like, just your day-to-day domestics or that kind of stuff.
Because they were all hiding in their houses.
Yeah.
So, but then here recently, a lot of the kids, and that's the right word to use for that one, that grew up around these people are picking up the torch, and they're doing all these violent crimes again. And instead of having 2 gangs, we have 3 and 4 gangs that are like 3 against 1 or 2 against 2 or 1 against, whatever. We still have these street gangs that are doing all these crimes, and it's for very, very small petty reasons. Like I went to a call. I answered a call yesterday when I was working. A cashier at one of our grocery stores got jumped by 2 females in the store while she was checking out somebody. And the reasoning was because of a boy.
Wow.
Like, that was literally it was a past issue they had, and they took it out on her while she was working.
So when you hear those arguments where people are like, what is this, high school? There it is, literally high school drama.
So bring that up. A lot of our issues that we have with the juvenile population actually stem back to their parents and their grandparents having bad blood and bad issues.
Oh my God!
Back when they were in high school.
That's so lame. It's like, get over it.
That's like when, a couple years ago, me and one of my officers that I basically got hired with, we answered a call. It was on the same street. I was basically, I'd say probably 200 yards away from where he was at. Same call. A bunch of juveniles got together, started fighting. I was up at this house getting information. He went down to the other house to get information, both families. I turn around from where I'm at, and I see like 15, 20 cars pull up where I'm at. And I'm not even joking. Probably 75, maybe 80 people started running towards my partner was. They were the house I was basically the family. The people that showed up were the family of the people at the house that I was. They ran towards where my partner was to go jump on the family that he was talking to. So I had to run a good distance to get to him, and we had 75, 80 people literally fighting, fist fighting around us, just trying to hurt the other people. And that night we basically had to just grab and throw people, and it was just me and him by ourselves, no backup.
I could just picture it now. You just yeeting people.
Oh yeah, my chief at the time literally asked me, how many people did you lock up? And I said, no, none of them. Said, you had people physically assaulting each other around you, so why didn't you act? I said, Chief, by the time I grabbed one person by their collar and their belt and threw them in the ditch behind me, they were gone.
Edith.
They got up and took off.
For a little context for our viewers, I have somewhat of a relationship with Kieran. I've known Kieran for quite some time as well. Obviously, Josh and I have been friends for almost 2 decades. But one of the nicer, more well-rounded individuals that I've met, and well-spoken, well-carried. So for me to just picture you just yeeting people into ditches is an awesome visual for me to have. So,
I appreciate that, CJ.
of course, yeah.
If we're gonna speak about how long we've known Kieran, this event is not that long ago, but I want to go ahead and point out that it was absolutely epic. Epic. CJ, you were there. You in fact were said best man at my wedding. This man here shows up to my wedding in a traditional Irish kilt.
That's right.
But not just that. Because this man here is a police officer, he showed up with his Glock on his hip.
I love it. I was so bummed that I had to leave early because I heard that it got pretty crazy.
The problem is that if you have a wedding of a certain size in the county that I live in, or actually the county that I live in is not the county we got married in. The county we got married in, you have to have a police officer there for if the crowd gets over a certain amount of people.
Yep.
We did. So we had to have a police officer there.
Y'all really do live in a hood-ass city if you're required to have security for a wedding.
I'm gonna be honest. The county we got married, the county that me and my wife got married in.
That's not the same city, is it?
No, it's very nice.
That's right.
I mean, very, very nice area. Very expensive houses.
Is it a state thing or is it just that city?
It's a county thing.
Interesting.
Not trying to cut you off. So, like where I live at, we also provide, going back to specials, we have a building in the city that is owned by the city. Mm-hmm. It's basically like a event hall. It's owned by the city, and because it's owned by the city, they have certain rules where the only time we're ever requested to do security services for these events, weddings, birthday parties, high school reunions, whatever. Only time we're requested is if there's alcohol present at the location.
Gotcha.
And the only thing that we're there for is make sure nobody acts stupid. So we show up at X time, and as soon as the alcohol is put away and taken away from the location, we can go home and get paid.
There you go.
There was a lot of alcohol at my wedding.
There was.
And the county we were at is literally butts to the county that he works in.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, but he's in a kilt.
Packing.
A Glock. You're 19?
I've a Glock 45. I got it on my back right now.
Yeah.
Remind me, boys. What's the 45? That's full frame. Or...
9mm.
Yeah.
It's the mixture between the 17 and the 43.
Awesome.
X.
So he's got that on him. He brought a bottle of whiskey. We're drinking the bottle. We're just having it's Mario. The cop comes up and he's just like, man, I really don't want to mess with you, bro. But the gun's got to go in the car. Of course, this man's polite as all hell. And he was like, for sure. But I remember sitting there just being like, damn, that's funny. It was like the immediate police officer to police officer respect that occurred there was just like, yo,
Yeah.
man, like I get it 100%, bro, but like, just make my life easier. And he's just like, for sure, bro, I got you. Like,
For,
get on with it.
for context, for the people watching this, I put my gun away before I started drinking
Yes,
alcohol.
correct.
I put my gun away. I
So-
took
Correct.
my badge off my hip.
Yes,
I put that in the trunk of my car before I even touched one bottle of alcohol.
that is 100% correct.
Right. So the
the-
question was the fact that you had both the
He had
firearm
a
and the
gun.
liquor. Got it.
He had a gun on him where there was another police officer there at a wedding, and of course you can't conceal a gun in a kilt.
Sure.
So
Sure.
the confrontation occurred pre-alcoholic beverages,
Got
but
it.
it was just like the fact that you had he was just like, yeah, I'm an officer too. He's like, yeah, but can you? And he's like, for sure, bro, I'll put it away.
I love it. So,
And
I mean, with permission, I think that there's some other stuff that took place at this wedding that maybe we should redirect before we get Kieran in trouble, or we're gonna keep going down the rabbit hole.
my wife is very well aware of what happened at the
Your
wedding.
wife is. Our followers aren't. Your agency may not
Oh.
be.
Oh no! So no. I had to talk to I had to talk to somebody. I was questioned about the wedding after the fact, because somebody had called one of my supervisors and had told him that I was wearing my gun and I was absolutely hammered.
I need to
Growing
know who I invited to my wedding that
I don't
can
even-
call
Yeah,
your
who's the
supervisor.
rat? Man,
I
somebody
don't-
get that boy
I don't
some
even
cheese.
know who it was.
We had a rat. Man, that's
Whoever you are,
obnoxious.
if you're watching right now, lose my number.
Lose my number. That's funny.
I literally walked into work the next day that I worked, and he said, "Hey, next time you go to a wedding and you're gonna start acting stupid, make sure your gun's off your hip." I was like, first of all, I know how the law works because in Georgia, you can carry a gun as long as you're not under the influence.
Correct.
When it comes to law enforcement, you absolutely cannot carry a gun when you're under the influence of alcohol.
Interesting.
Yes.
The gun was gone pre whiskey.
The gun was in my trunk. I was away from the vehicle.
Badge was gone too. It was
Yes.
just him in the kilt at the
Yes.
point we started drinking.
Maybe the misunderstanding was that your weapon was gone, but your gun wasn't, if you're catching my drift.
I understand that. Yeah.
So,
Kieran has never been a big fan of underwear.
hey, fair enough. So, speaking of specials, though, I mean, is that what we're calling this? Is this a special for you? I mean, you're not getting paid, but. Oh,
No,
man.
this is a very enjoyable experience.
Good.
I've watched tons of podcasts. I follow a bunch of podcasts on Facebook with a lot of people. Like the Unsubscribed podcast. I don't know if y'all are aware of that one.
I love that podcast.
That's
They're great.
if you're a fan of Black Rifle Coffee, the Unsubscribed podcast will be right up your alley.
Those guys are fantastic. They really are.
It's got Eli Double Tap and Batty Streams in it, and
Nice.
it is absolutely hilarious. So actually being invited to speak on a podcast is absolutely amazing. I'm enjoying this right now. So.
Awesome. I'm glad that you feel that way. I mean, we're glad to have you, obviously. And I mean, in the sake of like true podcastiness, I mean, let's get some more questions rolling. I mean, this one came out. Josh, you had delivered it to our notes list here. So I'll leave you to ask the question about making the choice when you hit 35. What was that question you had for us?
Oh yeah. So I've seen this on TikTok a bunch, and it's honestly a choice that I have to make. Actually, I don't have to make it.
I was gonna
Here
say
we go.
I'm
Here we
pondering
go.
because I'm not even 35 yet, but I've already made the decision. I think you and I made the same one.
I don't know if we have.
Okay.
So when you turn 35, you have two choices as a man. You either dive super deep into World War II history,
Okay.
or you start smoking meat.
Okay.
Here's the problem with me.
Me or meat?
Me. I love World War II history, and I literally, before this podcast started, was smoking meat.
Valid.
I couldn't choose, bro. It's it's two sides for me, bro.
I
I
walk.
gotta do both.
We walk like a fine line, right? Because like the way we get our haircuts, the way we kind of look, being white people, it's hard to really like be
Uh-huh.
a sympathizer with World War II culture, because they're gonna be like, he's a Nazi man. But no.
Only when I was super young that I had blonde hair, blue eyes. My hair changed.
I've always been brown hair, brown eyes. Like I was.
Thank you, Mexican family and me.
At least you guys have hair, you know.
It's okay. Josh is like the only one that gets to like truly brag about anything. Like I have a hair, but I have no beard. You have a beard, but no hair. Josh is just a lucky little piece of shit, and we're just gonna leave it at that. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm pulling the meat card. You know, you talk about activating the trap card. I'm activating the meat card.
I figured you'd go with the meat.
I mean, you have to, man. I mean, like, I like modern weapons more than I like historical weapons.
No one said anything about me studying historical weapons. Just the battles themselves are extremely interesting, and then.
But if you start
politically speaking, I very much enjoy reading about the political side of that war. My degree's in political science and international relations, so that kind of stuff interests the hell out of me.
Well, it sounds like you haven't really delved into the war of beef and pork.
I dive into that war once a week when I turn on my Rec Tech.
That's true.
Rec Tech, we live in the same city, bro. If you want to sponsor us, I love you.
Pit Boss Gang. I'm just kidding. I mean, I don't care. If somebody gonna give me a smoker, I don't give a shit what brand it is. But no. So I did some burnt ends yesterday with some pork belly. They turned out phenomenal. I got to a point where I was like, I've got so many here that they won't fit into one tray. What's the obvious solution? The obvious solution: 2 trays, 2 sauces. It's easy. It's great. So I have one batch of gold burnt ends. I have one batch of like sweet, sweet red burnt ends, and man, great. Even my kid, who's like I said, been sick and he's not eating anything. He won't even drink his chocolate milk right now. He's like, burnt ends? I got you. So that's motivating. That's inspiring to keep making meats. What about you, Kieran? Where do you fall on that spectrum? And I know none of us are 35. Josh, you're 32, right? I'm 33. Yep. How old are you, Kieran?
30.
You're just a pup.
Yeah, I know, right?
How old is your wife?
He just hit the descend.
Yeah, my wife is 26. She's 4 years younger than me.
That was also another thing, kind of going backwards. We're talking about the ability to conceive children, carrying the term, all that kind of stuff. So that probably assisted you guys in being able to conceive in 3 months. So, but I don't necessarily want to go. We're talking meats and war here. So before we entwine babies into those two things, sorry.
Let's leave babies and get back to meat and war.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. So where do you land on that spectrum, Kieran?
I've been referencing a lot of stuff on podcasts and people. So I'm going to reference another person. Person I like to follow is the Fat Electrician. He does a lot of absolutely funny and very historical videos on YouTube.
You showed me him. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not following the World War II spectrum of this.
This is
personally.
Perfect. This is great. I'm the meat guy. You're the World War II historian, and Josh is the guy who can't get off the fucking fence. It's a perfect balance.
I will live on this fucking fence.
I am like purely roasting Josh today. So, but it's all good. It's just beard envy. Don't worry about it.
It's nothing new for all you listeners out here.
We've
been friends for almost 2 decades, and he is a fucking bully.
Mm-hmm. It's true. But no, I mean, it's great because it gives us 3 truly different perspectives. I mean, I just have zero interest in the past. Like, I'm just like, what's done is done. You've studied history, and then Kieran's coming in here, and he's just like, he's straight on the history piece of it. So,
well, now, granted, I think when this whole thing started, if you have to be 35, when you turn 35, you have to do this and that and that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit of a dated argument. I don't think World War II is where you have to stop. You either get really
I agree.
You get really familiar with war history. That could go all the way back to Alexander the Great. It could be as far as our war for the war on terrorism. Just war.
Exactly.
Just
war. I mean that's true. But I mean, yeah. But at the same time, then are you going to limit your?
Time, no, I have to eat, fool.
Yeah.
And I have TikTok. I smoke everything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, it works both ways, right? Like you could say, hey, it means every war. It means every technology with, whether it's political weaponry, whatever. Yeah. But then that means that you also have to expand the smoking meat as the other thing to get obsessed with, and just at what point does it just become food? Because then you're going to be like, am I going to pick between food and wars? like you said, you got to eat. Like that stuff's done. That's happened. I still got to eat tomorrow. So like, I think that having it directed in like two, more niche topics makes it a more valuable argument.
That's fair.
If you want to look at it in the perspective of the meat smoking realm, you have two different types of people in the meat smoking realm as well. You have the people that use pellets grills, pellet smokers, and you have the traditional smokers that have the trailer for smoking meats.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've been smoking a burnt end or a butt for.
You're hurting his argument here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Get a trailer, CJ.
Yeah, exactly. Just sell my house and get a
pellet smoker's not
double-wide
working.
smoker. Yeah, exactly. No, I do. I use that. Well, shut the fuck up. Your Rectex a pellet smoker.
You are damn right. I love that thing.
But it's just like guys that there's two different arguments to that. You got the guys that are traditional smokers and they're busting out the long hours, long nights of staying up, marinating, smoking, making sure the temperatures are right. And you got the guys that are like, I got to get home and I got to cook something for my family, and I got a pellet smoker, so we're gonna quickly get this taken care of.
Yep. You
Digital
know what, Kieran?
screen.
Nope. Kieran, now you did. Disrespect me. Because
Look,
pellet smoker or not, I have done some fucking 16-hour smokes on that thing.
Oh, you have to.
I smoked a turkey for Thanksgiving. That bitch was 24 pounds. That was a multiple day endeavor. I had to get the turkey. I got the big bird. I bring it home. Had to thaw it out. That took a day. Then
I had to pluck the feathers. You had to do it all.
Why'd I have to pluck it if it's frozen? But then, so then I had to brine it, right? So I just have like a typical like side-by-side refrigerator in my kitchen. So I don't have like a big garage fridge where I can, get like this giant vat where I can dunk the whole bird. So I had to get like a pitcher, like a typical like lemonade pitcher kind of thing. No, it wasn't even that. It was smaller than that. I'd use a pot. I use a metal pot. And so basically I filled that pot all the way up. I put the bird in it, but the bird's only half submerged. So then I have to put it into the fridge. I have to move all my shit out of the fridge to fit the damn bird in there. And then I brine it for 12 hours. I set myself an alarm for 2 o'clock in the morning to go out into the kitchen, pull it all out, flip the bird so I can brine the other half. And then I put that back in the fridge. I start that process of brining that for that 12 hours. And then when I start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when the 16-hour actual smoke of the bird takes place. Because then I got to get it out, rub it, do the injections, get it all set and down, set the smoker on. I think I started at like 220, so like low temp. I'm talking, barely above like the initial smoke setting. And man, it was a process. So then that thing's smoking. My whole grill's filled up. And then I start panicking because, 14 hours later, we're, 1 hour out from the actual dinner where we have to drive to another city to eat it. And I'm probing the bird and it's sitting at like 155. So it's not hot enough. And I probe the legs. Them bitches are 195. They're too fucking hot. They're overcooked. I'm like, what are you talking about? So then I like go online, I Google it, and like panic resets because apparently, just so you fellow smokers out there know, fellow smokers already know, but you World War II guys, so you know. The legs, they can get up to 205. They're still gonna be tender, juicy. That dark meat, you can bring it up, and the breast just needs to be 165. So, needless to say, the bird came out fucking perfect. History was made on that Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
And see, I will follow that history now. Now that you've made history, I'll follow that history.
Well, all right.
What we have learned here. It's important to know that pellet grills can have real smokes, but yes, the legitimate. You throw in the sticks of fucking wood in and really monitoring and like making adjustments to airflow so you can get the right temperatures. Yeah, it's definitely a different art. It's just for a back patio grill.
It's just like in the realm of.
I love Kieran's overuse of the word realm.
How do you want to describe this?
That is a 12-year aged Irish Dr. Pepper.
Ooh.
So if you want to, so I have certain interests personally, and
they revolve around Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper and the smoking of
Cigars.
Yeah,
say cigars. We're not on
Okay,
TikTok.
yeah.
But
Well, you can talk about them there. You just can't actually smoke them. I got banned for that. So, good to know.
Oh, okay. Well,
Look,
so,
here's how I can say I'm in support of what you're about to discuss. What's in my pocket?
hey, you want to go down that rabbit hole? There you go.
No shit, dude. This man comes prepared.
Got your regular? What's on the... What's... Oh, is it your torch?
So I've got a cutter, lighter, and a punch.
Puncher.
Nice. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's just funny that I happened to just find this recently. It's not going to focus, but...
V cut.
Yeah, I lost my V cutter for a while, and then I was looking for a memory card because Josh and I briefly talked about this. And by the way, you guys do not understand like how excited I am. I bought a drone.
Cut off?
I bought a drone.
Oh my god.
It's
Freaking
outside.
so sick.
It's outside. It delivered. What? It delivered like 30 minutes ago, and I'm in here doing this podcast instead of flying around creeping on my neighbors.
Hold on.
I'm
You
just kidding.
ordered this yesterday and it delivered today?
Amazon Prime, baby.
Boy, stop.
But look, so I was looking for a memory card, and I was like, I think I have one in this closet, and then I found my V cutter. So I was like, oh, it's a win. I mean, I didn't find my memory card, but I found out that drone has onboard storage, so whatever. But,
well, speaking of cigars, your drone.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and say that moral of the story for being 35 and having to choose.
Oh yeah, that's like
Sometimes-
the question is just it's too narrow to like fit a stereotype of like what it is to be a man, you know, like be a man. But like yes,
Well, sometimes you have to choose the history of. For you, you choose history as well as smoking because your turkey is in the past. So now that is history to you.
but it's not war. I
Okay,
guess.
you fought a war with that turkey, bro. The legs were too damn hot. The breast was too damn cold.
That's true. I was in the fucking meat trenches.
But yeah, so
But look, that's I would say there to your. I think I kind of understand where you're going. I mean, there's a third category that I can think of. There's probably 10 categories, but the third category: are you going to smoke meats? Are you going to talk about history? Or are you going to get in? Are you just going to like dive into tech? Because if you go on YouTube, and I learned this just a couple days ago. I mean, I knew it in the past, but I really was reinforced this a couple days ago when I was looking on videos on like while I was comparing these drones to make the decision. There's these videos of dudes that are in like their 60s, and they just research drones all day. And like he just flies drones and then like buys drones and does this, and it's like, what are you like really photographing? Because like at that age, like, are you just like flying over cemeteries to see where you want to be buried because that's what's next?
I don't know what state you live in. They're flying over something.
Kieran has the same shitty death humor that I do. But no. So it's funny I said that because there was a while ago where like one time this lady, she cuts me off. And like Amy's in the car and I'm pissed. I'm pissed. And like when people cut me off, and I know I said I was going to talk about road rage next week, but like let's just talk about it for just a split second. I get filled with a fiery hot rage that is just, it's obscene. It's unnecessary. There's no reason for it. But every time you cut me off and I find an opportunity, I'm pulling up next to you. I'm going to stare at you. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to look at you to my side and be like, fucking look at me. I'm the captain now. And they won't. You're right. And they're like, oh, you know, like, and it's worse when you have tattoos, right? Because they're like, oh God, this guy's a criminal. He's been to prison. But no prison. Just have some tattoos. But anyway, so I'm staring at him, you know, and I look over. This lady is 186 years old at a minimum.
Dude, she chose the smoking or the history a long time ago, bro.
she chose smoking because she's like, I already know about the fucking World War II. I was there. So she's looking at her phone. She's looking at her phone. And I said to Amy, I'm like, look at this fucking, I almost dropped the C word. That's
a normal vocabulary in Australia.
That would have been both bad for YouTube and bad for like my view of the elderly community. So let me recant. But I'm looking at this lovely lady. Go ahead.
Sometimes that word sometimes is very necessary.
It's just like,
it is. So, it's one of my favorite words.
It's a great one. It's a great one. And just so you guys know, the C word is candy striper. And so I'm looking at this elderly woman, and I see her on her phone, and like that's why she cut me off because she's not paying attention. She's on her phone, and so I'm like, okay, like immediately the rage subsides, and I look at my wife, I'm like, what? Like, why is she on her phone? She is inches away from burial. There's nothing more she could be doing. I'm like, there's nothing that she could be doing besides looking up a tapioca recipe. And so that's like what has been stuck in my head forever. It's like what are you looking at when you're that old? Oh my gosh, man. We're going to get in so much trouble for xenophobia and geriatrophobia.
Geriatrophobia.
So,
I think it's gerophobia, but I don't know. Somebody will fact check it. Eventually, we're going to have 1 million subscribers, right? And they're going to be like, hey, he said geriatrophobia. He's a moron. Come on.
so in different perspective, you know.
Are you gonna give the old woman's side?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Her friend just died.
It was 987.
Y'all being in the civilian side of it and me being on the law enforcement side of it, somebody cuts me off, and I'm not a big traffic officer. I don't do a whole lot of traffic stops. There are guys in my agency that do a lot of traffic stops. I'm not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I will pull you over if you do what you just said you did. And if you're 900 years old and you're on your phone, you're driving a car and you cut my patrol car off, and I am very well marked. I have lights. I have stuff on the side of my vehicle saying who I am, what I am, what I'm doing. You're getting pulled over, and you're getting a ticket.
Your old ass going to jail.
That's one fortunate thing that your state has. You guys have like there's a law against texting and driving, right?
Yes.
That doesn't exist in my state.
There's a law against.
Yeah, they can just do whatever the hell they want. Yeah. No, you could you could be like this. Nobody cares. It's fine.
This is a hands-free state here.
We have hands-free.
That should be national, because yes,
absolutely agree with that.
I want to jump back real quick too, because you said we were civilian side, you were law enforcement. Josh is civilian, you're law enforcement. I'm actually high and dry is what we call ourselves. Okay. So I just want to make sure we remember that's what Kieran thinks of the United States military.
No.
All my fellow guardsmen, don't leave your police officers high and dry. Kidding, of course. No,
I get it.
But no, it should be a federal thing. I think that I'm not going to compare it to drinking and driving, which some statistics have done in the past. But I mean, there's proof of your inability to multitask as a human in general. So to try and combine like, and that was my point with making the comment about the tapioca, because like, what's the ultimate thing about tapioca? It's not that important, right? No matter what you're doing on that text, it's not that important. If it is that important, stop your fucking car. Just pull over and then have the important conversation. And so many phones now have, sorry, I keep cutting you off. So many phones now have a thing to where you can just receive a text and have the car read it to you.
Yeah.
And then call them. If they're like, hey, your friend, give me an old guy name.
Fred.
That's not that. Your friend Ebenezer.
There you go.
Just
Gentry.
Your friend Gentry. He's just fallen down a flight of stairs. Oh shit, let me pull over into my marked handicap spot and make a phone call. It doesn't need to be a continued text. So,
well, speaking of smoking foods and learning about World War II, it's probably about time I go handle smoking the food for this event here today, so that we don't start World War II with our wives.
That's wise. That's wise.
But it has been a fun episode.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming on, Kieran.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Kieran, thank you so much for jumping on. As always, we appreciate everybody's support. Hopefully we didn't upset too many elderly folks today. That was never the intention. It's a circumstance that takes place. So,
yeah. But like, comment, subscribe, click that bell so you don't miss the next episode. You never know, we're gonna have guests on that give us A, super good information, and B, have funny fucking stories. So
absolutely. All right, guys. Until the next one. Thanks again.